Hey, welcome back to another episode of I Have Bad Opinions, but you're gonna listen anyway. We already covered some of it, but things are pretty bad out there. Still, I, like almost everyone else, have been inside all the meanwhile, meaning I get to grow more and more disheveled looking by the day. But hey, this could be considered a blessing in disguise given my circumstances. I've got seasonal allergies and I'm Asian, so my chances of getting my ass kicked or misinterpreting actual symptoms for allergies have gone up exponentially in the last few months. Like, I don't live in a particularly good neighborhood. I'm pretty big, I guess, but if we're gonna be real here for a second, I'm only Asian big. While I am in the 0.1 percentile of height for men in my ancestral homeland, I'm still not a 6'7" juggernaut. If someone really wanted to, they could probably turn me into Banseo, okay? Standing paisery is still out of my reach, so to speak. What was he talking about? My point is, my best shot at staying whole, like everyone else, is to, again, stay inside for a while longer. But hey, that's not so bad, since that means you guys get to see a little more of me, probably, if I feel like it. Which means we've got a lot of catching up to do. The world keeps spinning after all, pandemic or no. Not so much in the way of good news though. I actually think I might have exhausted that list in my last video, which incidentally was among my shorter ones, unfortunately. But here's some things that have been going on that might be of interest. Whoa, check out all that cool stuff that's happening. How neat is that? There's a swarm of locusts 3 times the size of New York in Africa, which China is going to combat by sending 700 ducks to eat. So that's both neat and terrifying, since I think that means we've completed our 4 horsemen set for the upcoming expansion. For gameplay previews, it looks like we've got some radioactive wildfires and extreme droughts to look forward to. People are losing their jobs and the economy is crashing, with our political leaders and pundits saying it's worth sacrificing lives to save it, when that makes 0 sense. Although a lot of people seem to agree, as there are protesters advocating to lift quarantine, agreeing that death is a preferable outcome. So I guess if you've got pre-existing conditions, asthma or a compromised immune system, for example, or are elderly, hell, if you don't have access to healthcare, a teenager died because of this, I guess you can go fuck yourself. More fuel for the machine! Just inject yourself with disinfectant. It'll be fine! Police are now only doing crucial arrests, with non-violent criminals and charges being dropped, which is cool. But it sort of makes you wonder why we haven't already been doing that to begin with. Pharmaceutical manufacturers have capped insulin at 35, down from 180, further proving that your life is just another thing to exploit for profit. All the meanwhile, YouTubers keep pretending like they give a shit about comic books and e-celebs' personal relationships to keep themselves distracted. Here's my take on both of those things in case you were wondering, though, in the order I mentioned. Cringe. I don't care. There, you can extend these opinions to any similar events in the future while you're watching someone string together a narrative as they're reading off cherry-picked Twitter messages. But hey, they're just drama channels. They're entertainers, so they don't have to worry about things like honesty, integrity, or research. I mean, it's just their opinion, man. Who cares if it's based off cursory knowledge and is spreading brain rot to countless people who will then go on to parrot their dumbass takes? Reaching out for context and fact-checking? How about you reach out and check these nuts? Oh, what's that? I'm afraid I can't hear you over me hitting my snipping tool. After wading through the garbage, there was something related to YouTube, however, that caught my attention because of the implications behind what transpired that deeply upset me. There's already been a considerable amount of coverage and research documented on the topic, all of which can be easily replicated, so there's not really any doubt to be cast on the matter. False flagging and claiming videos still doesn't have any major repercussions if it comes from large studios and creators, as evidenced by YouTube defending Suzy Liu and Naughty Dog's recent actions. Which is strange because they've also shown that it is totally okay to upload full licensed episodes to YouTube as long as your face takes up most of the real estate. I initially believed the situation to be a result of things being mostly automated during these trying times, but for the amount of time and exposure this has had, without any real action being taken, even going against safe harbor laws, it's clear that there's a great deal of leniency being lent out. A little while ago, I made a video on the subject where, while I was being critical of YouTube, I closed with a positive outlook on the platform. My feelings have since changed, and that optimism is gone. It's clear now that your only real option is to bend over and take it if you've been wronged, hoping that your tender bits eventually unloosen unless you have the reach to fight it, something that the vast majority of creators unfortunately do not have the ability to do. In which case, really just Hope you don't get fucked to death. Pray you don't have an opinion on something, no matter how nuanced, that isn't deemed acceptable, or didn't upload anything in the past without the foresight it wouldn't be okay later. This is some clown shit and I hate it. Moving on. People are having coronavirus parties alongside the protests and you will never guess what they are catching. Yeah, I'm thinking it's time. I think it's time to hand the world over to the rats. Humanity has overstayed its welcome. What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? You're killing people. This isn't hyperbole. I know people who have essential jobs that have gotten sick because they're forced to be in the splash zone of your stupidity. If you're honestly dumb enough to think that our situation is a result of a conspiracy and not mass incompetence, or are morally bankrupt enough to think that human lives are worth trading for you to get a haircut, then you can go fuck yourself. I do not fuck with you. I don't like you. I don't value your opinion. It matters as much to me as human life matters to you. A tiger was infected. 4 different volcanoes erupted the same day in Indonesia. Ebola has also made a resurgence and a new bird flu is out there, so we're really in it full force. Boy, that is some depressing shit. How about we just talk about some of those video games I mentioned last time, huh? I ran out of money after the first transition, so this is it. Yeah, I'm talking about video games. Spoilers, I guess. So if you care about that or don't care about video games at all, there's your warning. So RE3 is not worth $60. A 4-hour game is not worth $60. Yeah, there's cool parts, but if I had known that there's not really any reason to play this more than once, that entire sections from the original are missing despite this ostensibly being a remake, which means I'm essentially paying $15 an hour to walk through hallways and scripted events devoid of puzzles, then this would have just been a pass for me. And no, being packaged with an online multiplayer that nobody wanted doesn't excuse it either. For what it's worth, I did enjoy it for the amount of time I played it, but I can still really only advise people to buy this at a heavy discount. Moving on to our second remake, we've got the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which had some questionable advertising. It is more accurate to call this game a rebuild a la Evangelion, where it can be interpreted as a direct sequel that echoes scenes from the original, in a way that I do not like. I understand why they decided to keep the details under wraps, but I was not a fan of the execution, at least as things stand currently. Those of you who wanted to see Final Fantasy VII with fresh eyes, being upgraded to modern standards and expanded upon while staying true to the spirit of the original, you will not get that experience from this game. You catch glimpses of these feelings throughout, but that just, in my opinion, makes it worse. Because it means that they could have done this, but chose not to. What they've created here requires you to have knowledge of the original in its entirety, along with Advent Children and Crisis Core for context. Nothing will make sense to you at many points otherwise, especially in the latter segments. And it's honestly kind of insulting even if you do understand what's happening. I don't know who this game is for, other than diehard fans of the original, who have followed all the additional material and simply want to see this through to the end, regardless of the outcome and how long it'll take. I touched on it a bit in my last video, but it looks like my concerns were founded. It's still very nice looking for the most part. It plays well, and all the new character interactions are really nice. Everyone feels a lot more expressive, but there's too many things holding it back for me. There's a bunch of needlessly long, meandering parts that seem to only be inserted as padding for time, and things happening throughout that are either thematically inappropriate or completely nonsensical, especially towards the end. It's clear that they're diverging in terms of narrative, and I can see how a lot of people would find this to be exhilarating, a pleasant surprise compared to just a straightforward remake like everyone was expecting. But I'm personally pretty off-put by it. For everyone who liked it, I'm genuinely curious to hear why, other than it was because you got something unexpected. I have heard so much praise for this game pretty much everywhere that I actually feel a bit crazy for how much it contrasts with my personal views on it. My feelings aside, it is still a nice, chunky game for the first part in the series, and we've got at least 2 more to go, so here's hoping they stick the landing with whatever this is. I mean, who knows, maybe this direction paves the way for a story that's satisfying and memorable in its own right. And truthfully, even though I'm not a fan of it right now, I think the worst thing that they could do is try to course correct, pretending that these changes don't actually affect any of the events that happen later on. Not that it matters. Just looking at the numbers, people are going to be buying these games no matter what, so we'll touch base on this after Part 2 comes out. If I even play it. Alright, well that's 2 games you shouldn't buy. Let's see what else we got. Animal Crossing. Great trading simulator. UI could use a lot of work, but it's really fun if you got friends and like waiting 10 minutes for everyone to load in. The majority of tasks in this game are incredibly tedious and chance-based, so if you like gambling, collecting, decorating, and flexing on people, or just like cute Animal Island buddies, then this is the game for you. Persona 5 The Royale is great. The new characters, mechanics, quality of life changes, and entire semester to close the game out are more than worth the price tag. Again, if you haven't played the vanilla version, this is definitely worth your time. That's pretty much all I got for games as of now. I haven't quite gotten my fill of Neo 2 yet, but I thought it was pretty neat that they gave you a free N-word pass. I might fit in Doom somewhere since I hear that's pretty short, but at the same time, that makes me want to wait for a sale. I have been eyeing XCOM Chimera Squad though, since I am just the biggest slut for turn-based tactics style games. And that's all we got for today. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing my face this month, and I will see you all next time, where I will hopefully have at least shaved by then. Oh, hey buddy, you wanna play? Oh. I got pussy on the mind. Oh shit. That's a bad joke.